Right.
Yeah, so we're just about to go live. I'll let you know when we're live.
Okay. Welcome, Ravi. Welcome, MJ.
Yeah, hi, thank you.
Deepak, it's just taking slightly longer than expected. I'm just going to try it again one more time.
All right. Oh, he says it's being live streamed now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just waiting for it to actually pop up that Facebook page as well. Yeah, so we are
live.
So yeah, Deepak ji, we are live now. So it's in your hands.
Wonderful, wonderful, Rahul. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, friends, wherever you are. And it's such a pleasure. It gives me such a pleasure to introduce you to our new friends here, Rahul and Galina. And they've written a very interesting book, and I thought it'll be a very, very interesting discussion on the book, and we'll see. So I thought I'll invite my friends and discuss about this. So before I start the session, let me introduce you to the authors of this book. I mean, it's a very interesting name, and we'll go through that later in the hour. Rahul Singh and Galina Kogut. Now, first, let me introduce Rahul. Rahul is a banker, author, and community builder. He's the principal of corporate advisory group at IIM Udaipur and the president of IIM Bangalore Alumni Association in Singapore. He regularly speaks at corporates and universities at international level on topics that concerns millennials, such as careers in 21st century, conscious capitalism, and cross-cultural understanding. He has co-authored Engineering to Ikagai, and You Know the Glory, Not the Story. And brought up in Lucknow, he received a full scholarship to study BTech Engineering Honours at Nanyang Technological University, NTU, Singapore, and has an MBA from IIM Bangalore. So Rahul, thank you very much today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being on this platform.
And also we have a co-author of the book. I always get this Galina, right?
Yes.
And yes, Galina, welcome. And Galina is a researcher and researcher with National Institute of Education and has PhD from NTU Singapore. She focuses on pedagogy with specific emphasis on language acquisition and teacher professional development. Born in Ukraine, Galina has widely researched and taught Western psychology, Eastern philosophies. She has translated various Indian scriptures into Eastern European languages and co-authored digital storytelling for educative purposes. She is a president for Ukrainian Club in Singapore and was the founder for Ukrainian Language School Singapore. So once again, welcome to you both, and welcome to everybody who has joined us in the session today. So before we start, it's a tradition that we say the pranam mantra, and I'll just quickly chant. We remember our masters who have given us this knowledge, and so Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Unimilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare
Ram Hare Hare.
So now every book is written with a purpose. There is a background, there's an author, in this case, two authors. There's a background, there's a context, and there's a motive. And obviously there's an outcome. So the topic, when Rahul sent me this book, An Atheist Gets the Gita, was very, very intriguing. So let's start with the name itself. Now, Rahul, one thing is very interesting about Gita is, and when I looked at your title, I thought, had it been an fill in the blanks gets the Gita, right? You can put anything in that fill in the blank, right? And it's interesting, you used atheist in there. So that's a very, very interesting aspect about it. So now, please tell me, I mean, what was the, why did you choose this name, and what was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, so that's basically the crux of the book, right? Why an atheist is reading the Gita. And to that effect, what I would say is that, I personally know thieves, murderers, drunkards, druggists, who have all in some way or form got the Gita and then come out transformed, because the book is such a transformational book. And hence, why not an atheist? An atheist can also read the Gita, because absolutely there are no prerequisites of who can read the Gita. But interestingly, why I picked this word atheist, and an atheist gets the Gita, is because in the modern context, we understand atheist as somebody who, quote unquote, believes in science and believes only in science. Science, of course, has its own limitations, its own flaws, its own, I mean, there is a limit to everything. So science also has a limit to what it can answer, what it can't answer, which is something which I've discussed in my chapter of Who is God. But the idea here was that if you come with a logical and inquisitive mind, then probably you are the best qualified person to read the Bhagavad Gita, because you come with no baggage. And you mentioned about baggage in our pre-talk just before the session. So to that effect, I would say that if you are, quote unquote, an atheist, you come with an absolute clean slate, and then take the book, read it, and see if it makes sense. So that's the reasoning behind calling it An Atheist Gets the Gita.
Right. I mean, it's very interesting, as I said, and I really wanted to have this conversation just by looking at the title of your book. Now, other thing is, people who don't know, Indian tradition, we have something very similar called the Charvaks, which are very much like atheists. Now, there is a difference between an atheist and a Charvak. I don't know if you want to go into that today, but what I was going to ask you was, if, let's say, for this conversation, how would you define an atheist? What would be your definition of an atheist?
Yeah, so that's again a very interesting question that you have posed. Who is an atheist? And to that, what I would say is that, and you mentioned Charvaka, which is one of the, it's not the Shat Darshan, it's outside the Shat Darshan, but Charvakas very much existed as long as the Indian civilization was there. People who used to, so what's the difference between a Charvaka and a believer? So a believer believes that soul is spiritual, and life in the material body is because of presence of soul in that material body. Whereas Charvakas believe that the consciousness is a result of material reactions going on in your brain or in your body, right? Which is the same as the modern science view, by the way, that consciousness is a result of the reactions that are going inside your brain. So to that effect, if you were to ask me who an atheist is, so we have a number of ways to resolve this, but let's try to resolve this etymologically. What I mean by that is, let's look at what an atheist means. So an atheist, the word atheist comes from the Greek word atheos. Now, a means not and theos means God. So somebody who doesn't believe in God is an atheist. Now, there is a kind of a parallel word which we use in Hindi/Sanskrit, which is called Nastik. So we often say atheist is a Nastik. Now, who is a Nastik? That's a very pertinent question then. And Nastik, if you break down the word in Sanskrit, means na astika. That means one who believes it doesn't exist. But it doesn't define what is this it that doesn't exist. And for that, then you have to read advanced commentaries by Sanskrit grammarians such as Panini. And Panini in Ashtadhyayi mentions what Nastik is, or who a Nastik is. So in that definition of who a Nastik is, Panini describes what it is. And even when you read that, it's still quite dense. And you need a vritti, which is an explanation to that shloka to understand what it means. And in the vritti, which is coming from Kashi, and hence called the Kashika, it is explained that a Nastik is somebody who doesn't believe in a hereafter, who doesn't believe in something which goes beyond death. So if you don't believe anything exists beyond death, then by Panini's definition, you are an Nastik, or you are, let's say for the sake of discussion, an atheist. Now, there are other definitions as well. Like Manu Smriti says, anybody who criticizes the Vedas is a Nastik. Now, by that definition, every Buddhist person, every everybody who's following Jain is also a Nastik, right? And if you go by strictly by that definition. So this question of who a Nastik is and who a Nastik is actually quite deep. And in fact, if you, in the book at one place, I even say that Buddhists and Jains are atheist, but not Nastik. And that's a very profound statement. Why do I say that? Because fundamentally, Buddhism and Jainism do not have this concept of God. I mean, when I say God, I'm talking about the God, generator, operator, destroyer, that kind of a God, the universal creator and the destroyer, right? So that kind of concept of God doesn't exist in Buddhism. Why? Because Buddhism says that there can't be one single cause for creation or destruction of the universe. Whereas in Jainism, what they believe is that you do not need to invoke the concept of a generator, operator, destroyer God in order for the universe to function. So both of these, in some sense, become atheistic in that sense. But at the same time, they're not Gnostic. Why? Because I'm using Panini's definition, and I'm saying that they are not Gnostic because they still believe in asti of something, in the existence of something. What is that something? In Buddhism, they believe that they do not per se believe in soul, but they believe in consciousness going beyond death. And Jains do believe in the laws of karma, and they do believe in soul which goes beyond death. So now by that definition, Jains and Buddhists also become astic. So the only person which I would say is in our Indian tradition, which you could quote unquote say is atheist, is Charvaka, which you mentioned already. And beyond that, there is another school of philosophy in India, which is called Ajnana. So Agyan means wisdom and Ajnana means I don't know. So Ajnana basically is agnostic. These people say that we don't know for sure whether there is God or whether there is no God. So they, in a sense, maintain that neutrality, that we don't know, we can't know. No, they don't say we don't know, they say we can't know. So that is, I hope I have tried to answer your question, who an atheist is, who an Gnostic is, to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, the modern phenomena, I mean, they did a survey in the West, in the UK, and the traditional religion, for example, in the West is Christianity. And when they did the survey, most of the people, they had identified themselves as an atheist or as a humanist. So that number in proportion, the local population, is actually quite huge. Traditional, they do not associate with themselves with the traditional religion or religions of like Christianity.
So I would add something there. Yesterday we were doing a talk with Bharat Mauritius, which is basically an organization for diaspora in Mauritius, Indian diaspora in Mauritius. And there the host quoted some numbers like 400 to 450 million people across the world out of 7.3 billion people identify themselves as atheist. And the majority of these 200 million of those are coming from China. Now, China happens to be a communist country. There is a history to why they identify themselves as atheist. And my co-author, Dr. Galina Kogut here also has kind of shared that kind of upbringing. Yes. So she would probably tell you more about when you say you are an atheist, it actually may be more ideological, which is political ideology based, as opposed to more individualistic based. I hope I'm making the distinction here.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is, my observation is that sometimes atheists, when you talk to them, it's more science based. You know, they're not introduced to spirituality. So they're introduced to science, and they think science is the basis of everything, and they have faith. You know, obviously science is proving a lot of things and coming up with new discoveries and inventions. So they say, well, we believe in science. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, new atheist,
Yeah,
maybe he
which
said,
is fine. Believing in science is not an issue, and we should all believe in science. In fact, the reason why you are sitting in the UK, I'm sitting in the Singapore, and there are so many audience from all over the world are able to have this very discussion is because of science, right? So let's not negate the value and the importance of science, and so as to say there is no dichotomy. Just because you believe in science doesn't mean you can't believe in spirituality or you can't believe in religion. So there is no dichotomy there. So let me also clarify that. But at the same time, what is important to understand is that actually what I realized, if you have a scientific logical mind, you are more equipped to understand the nuances that are in spirituality and the limits of science itself. And let me give you a very, very, very simplistic limit of science, why science cannot answer all the questions. And this is as scientific as it gets. So we all live in this universe, and there is no doubt about this, whether you are a science believer or you are a believer of religion, or you don't, unless you're a flat earther, everybody believes that we live in the universe, right?
yes.
So how big is the universe? That's a question. We look in the sky and we ask, how big is the universe? That's a question which every child has at some point, or they either ask their parents, ask their teachers, right? Now let's look into this. How big is the universe? So the so-called observable universe, the amount of universe that you can ever see, the diameter of that universe is 46 billion light years. Okay.
Right. Yes.
Now, how much of that have we seen? With our best telescope, 14.5 billion light years is the best we can see with given our technology. But
That's
here
right.
is a nuance. Even with our best technology ever that we can ever invent, we cannot see beyond the 96 billion light year, beyond the 46 billion radius that I'm talking to you about. Why is that so? It is because universe we know is expanding, and this has been proven by a lot of experiments and a lot of theories in science that universe is expanding, and it is also there in Srimad Bhagavatam that the universe is expanding. There is no doubt about that. So the universe is expanding, but the interesting thing is universe itself is expanding faster than the speed of light. What does that mean now? That's an interesting thing. That means so we also know that the fastest thing that can travel in the universe is the speed of light. So if you're trying to get any information from somewhere, it has to travel at a speed of light, or for you to get it.
Yes.
Or faster. And now what I'm saying is the universe itself is expanding so fast that even light from there cannot reach us. That means beyond the 46 billion light years, you can get no information at all. So when you can get no information at all, is it even worth postulating, speculating what goes beyond that? No, right? So you cannot, you are looking at a very tiny section of what apparently appears to be an infinitely wide universe, and then you're trying to postulate how this entire universe came into being, how this whole system came into being, who created it. So some questions you can't answer just because they're designed in a way that you can't answer those questions. So that was a small nuance, and every scientist who has studied science knows this.
And I think, Rahul, what just before I move to Galina, I mean, first of all, let me welcome we have a few new joiners. So welcome to you if you're joining us. Wonderful to have you with us in the session. So now, Galina, very interestingly, we talk about atheists, and I know you were you're born in former USSR, and you are now obviously then the breakdown of Soviet Union, and now obviously different federal states, and now Ukraine is your home country. So how was that experience? And also we will talk in context with this book. So please.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhu. Well, first of all, I just wanted to really thank you for like putting the title of the book is in this angle, like an atheist gets the Gita, but we actually can put a dash there, and instead of an atheist, it can be anyone, so I've never been positioning myself as an atheist. But after working on this book together with Rahul, I really, it actually helped me to rediscover the Bhagavad Gita, to rediscover Krishna's message, and to even rediscover my relationships with my Gurudev, so maybe it's like I'm Galina, but I also have an initiated name, Rohini, so maybe it will be easier to remember me by that. So I'm not an atheist, but you can put like, okay, dash and Galina gets the Gita, or Rohini gets the Gita, or a soul gets the Gita, or anybody, teacher gets the Gita, or a disciple gets the Gita, because Gita is such a Gita speaks for itself. Gita, Bhagavad Gita is actually non-different from Krishna himself, because we say Krishna, he's already there, he's absolute. So the name of his name, his form, the way his words is already Krishna. So when you get in touch with Bhagavad Gita, it's like you are trying to to get at the feet of Krishna. So it's in no matter how you work with Bhagavad Gita, whether you write about it, you discuss it, and all, you get this connection back with your Gurudev, with Krishna, and all. So to me, it was, and I didn't think about it, but when you put it this way, like, and as somebody gets the Gita, then I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm not really an atheist, but working with this and having this experience actually made me rediscover my relationship, because we always work on that, right? We want to have a relationship with in Bhakti, it's all about the relationship with your Gurudev, with your with Krishna, with the servants of the servants. So it actually helped me in that. So my story started some time back. So I'm now here at this portion, but at this portion of my relationships with Gita, but it started actually sometime back. So I was born in an atheist country, officially atheist country. So that at the USSR at the time, for a long period of time, had the ideology of the communist ideology. So yes, communist ideology, and sorry.
I think it's interesting. How did Gita actually get into a communist? I know because there's a lot of restrictions. We have not got, we were not brought up in that environment where, religion is a taboo. You cannot discuss it. You cannot practice it. So you have, I suppose, experiences like with your parents or your friends and family circle. And at that time, I was reading that, all the spiritual books were actually banned.
It was communist ideology, and the official religion is atheism. So as much as you can impose religion, so officially you are supposed to believe that there is no God, so the book which the first Gita which I had in my hands was actually, my brother brought it home. Yes, so and it was a copy of a typewritten, self-printed underground book, which was translated from English book, Bhagavad Gita, which was smuggled by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the USSR. So it's like, so I got that book, and it was very difficult to read because the print was print was all.
They said it was all typed, like it was.
Yeah, it was a copy of a copy. So you can imagine how.
Yes.
And then so I got that Gita, and I was interested in that. So and there's a whole story behind why I was interested in that, in Bhagavad Gita, because since early childhood, like you say, each of us at a certain point in time start asking questions. What is the universe? Like Rahul mentioned, when you look at the sky, you see how big is the universe. Then for me, it was always, who am I? Why am I here? So I've been asking my mother and whoever I could, my family, and it was not like they couldn't really give me answers. So I was looking for that. And then when I got this book, I was like, oh, it looks like this is what I want, because this is what I need. This is what gives some answers to my questions, So that was that was my story, So in an officially kind of like atheist country, somehow, because if you are sincere to yourself, if you try to figure out the purpose of your own life, then you will get some ways to have it.
Wonderful. And Rahul, what then decided for you to write this? Because I was reading, and I've seen a bit of research, I've watched your old videos, and obviously you as we know nowadays, in India we've given so much of Western style education, and so what was your motivation then to write this book?
Yeah, so in some sense, I would not say in its entirety. in some sense, this book kind of has been my journey over the last 5 years. Now, let me explain you what I mean by that. So for the benefit of the audience, I was actually born in Ayodhya, which is, I have been told, as holy as it can get. But despite living there, and despite having access to all this wisdom, I actually never ever opened any scriptures in India at all. I had, in fact, I mean, I don't know how that happened, but the very first time I ever lay my hand on Bhagavad Gita was because I was bringing a copy for Galina. So she asked me to bring, and I went to, happened to be in Ayodhya. I brought a Gita Press book, which by the way, I read after many years. So that was my first and only incidence of holding the Bhagavad Gita. And I was coming from, I'll give you a bit of background on this. I was coming from Ayodhya to Lucknow, and I was traveling in a tuk-tuk, in a I don't know how do you say tuk-tuk, some kind of vehicle in India.
Rickshaw, you know, the three-wheeler.
Rickshaw, auto rickshaw. Yeah,
Auto rickshaw.
Yeah, so I was from the railway station to going to my home. I was going in that auto rickshaw, and I was carrying many things, and I gave a book. I said, I told the guy in front of me, can you please hold this book for me? So he holds it, and then he jerks and gives it back to me. And I said, oh, hey, what happened? He says, this is Bhagavad Gita. I am holding meat in my hand. You know, so he just jerks and gives it back to me. So that is the amount. No, you may be believing in whatever, no matter what ethos you're brought up in, there is some amount of respect that people have to scriptures in India, no matter what religion, right? And what I'm trying to say here is, I come from that atmosphere, yet जैसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं चिराग तले अंधेरा, there is always darkness beneath the lamp. Yet I never read any of these scriptures. And for me, I then came to Singapore. I did my undergrad here. I was studying engineering, and then I worked for a while. I went to India again, did my MBA from IIM Bangalore, came back. And then it so happened that I met some people who were, I would say, Sattvic type, and yet doing great things materially. These are all people who I would say were millionaires and billionaires. They were not ordinary people, but at the same time, they were driven by a deeper purpose. And then I got intrigued by them, and I was trying to understand what led them to do what they do. How are they finding meaning to their life? How are they generating these ultra successful companies? What is the passion that is driving them? And then invariably, I found out that all of them had not just read the Bhagavad Gita, but also imbibed its message. And that intrigued me about the book, that there must be something interesting in this book I must read. So when I started reading this book, what I realized is that it's actually, if at the core of it, it's 700 slokas, 1400 lines. But those 1400 lines are so dense. And first of all, they're written in Sanskrit. It's difficult to understand. So from my point of view, what I realized is that there are a lot of qualified commentaries written on the Bhagavad Gita. There are a lot of advanced knowledge that is out there on the Bhagavad Gita. But at the same time, me being trained in what I would say the Western education system, which you also hinted at, which trains your mind in a certain way. After 16 years of you being trained in interpreting things as either laws or frameworks, it's not that easy to make a jump and read an advanced commentary on any of the scriptures. So I felt there was a gap for somebody like me who wants to understand the Bhagavad Gita. So in that sense, this book kind of becomes like that bridge, which helps somebody who may have no knowledge about these books, but may still be curious about the book to understand how and what, to basically understand the core message of the Bhagavad Gita. It's let me put it slightly differently. Let's say you are in England, right? If somebody wants to read 17th century Shakespeare, they at least need to know ABCD, even though Shakespeare itself is written in medieval English, might be hard to understand. But if you come there without even understanding ABCD, if you land up from, let's say, Galina's land, from Ukraine to England, and you now suddenly want to read the Shakespeare, man, you first need to know your Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So this book in that sense is that Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And then hopefully after you have read this, then you may wonder how lovely the Gita is.
I think I will say something here, because when I first saw the title, and I think I got a bit confused, I thought, oh, here we go, another commentary, you know. But then you corrected me, and when I was reading the book, I think you're absolutely right. That it is actually not a commentary. It is, and the way you have presented in a very, both of you, the structured manner, the concepts of and principles of Gita, and you have brought a lot of science into it, a lot of philosophical aspects into it. And I think for me personally now, this book is like a reference. You know, as I said to you earlier, that I've just started reading it, you know, and I will keep this because I think for someone, you know, a young person, I think it's a perfect precursor to Bhagavad Gita, actually. That's the way I feel. And it's a fantastic book. You know, if someone's asking a question, yeah, here we go. And you've done a lot of research. I mean, I must say, I mean, hats off to both of you guys. I mean, I was looking and I said, my God, the amount of research you must have done for this, not just our own scriptures, but the scientific, you know, you know, all the papers and all the things which are coming out at the moment. So that's, you know, well done to you guys, seriously. And people think, oh, writing a book or somebody just read it, but I could see the hard work and dedication and the scholarship which has actually gone into this work and so much research.
So Deepak ji, I will also want to add something there. So and this is something which I've said to some of the people who are in this forum right now in one-on-one conversations. So there is a Mahabharat which was created by B.R. Chopra in India. Some of you might have seen that. So in that Mahabharat, there is a particular scene in which Arjuna is coming to Krishna and asking Krishna, would you become my charioteer? And in that version which B.R. Chopra makes, Krishna replies, probably I was born to become your charioteer. That was my whole purpose of taking birth in the Dwapar Yuga. That was the essence of what he was trying to say. And when I started writing this book, you know, life is often like this. It's a puzzle that fits more backwards than forward, right? So let me explain you what I mean by that. So I felt that probably my purpose was just to write this book. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. And let me just qualify why I say this. I wanted to be a theoretical physicist, which for some reason I could not. Then I worked in banking, and then I went and did MBA. And then through some Sukriti, I met people like Galina. I met some other people that I have mentioned in the book, like Rajiv Srivastava, like Devaki Nandan, like Suman Chaki, who I've dedicated the book to. And these people kind of culminated my life in a way that I then realized, me having gotten this knowledge, it would be a great disservice and a selfishness not to share it with others. So now that I've gotten this knowledge, can I package it in a way that others can have access to it? Now, with that desire, all the other things that I've done in my life up till now, which is either being a failed physicist, but understanding enough about science to pick up things from there and comment and see parallels and differences between what science says and what the scriptures say, and the ability of being a manager or an MBA guy to put things in a framework, in a law format, and being able to present it in an interesting way that it might pick the interest of somebody to go on and on and on and read the pages of the book. So what I would say is that all my life has culminated in that way, even when I met Galina. So you said that we have done a lot of research in terms of the reference and the background and the source. So you see, when I was writing the book, intuitively I knew, okay, this is how it should be. This is how it probably it is somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Like even the concepts such as Purusharth, even the concepts such as 4 types of yoga, the Gyan Yoga, the Dhyan Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, and the Karma Yoga. Now, these were alien concepts to me, even 3 kinds of gunas, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva. So when you read, you kind of get an intuitive sense, this is how it should be, but what is the scriptural backing? What is the reference? Otherwise, I can just write something from my head, but then that's mental speculation. So that's when I used to go to Galina and ask, hey, I think it should be like this, but do you know the scriptural backing for this? And that's when she would say, okay, that's in Katha Upanishad, that's in Isho Upanishad, that's in Chaitan Charitamrit, that's in Prabhupada's commentary. So kind of we came together where I was the inquisitive person and she was the source of knowledge. And as you can see, and as audience can see, I'm the more extrovert among the two of us. She is that introvert source of knowledge who I was squeezing like an orange juice. That yes. Okay, give me. I want to get this and put this in the book. So I would say it's like we were feeding off each other. So if I didn't ask her
good partnership.
Good partnership. If I didn't ask her that question, then she would probably not have given me the answer. And now that she gave me the answer, we put it in a book. So it was something like that was going on.
Wonderful. I mean, Galina, I would like to ask you here, we talk about, there's one thing common, with all of us, atheist, secular, humanist, you know, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, whoever throughout the world, there's one thing very common. And actually, when we were sending out the invite for this session, and that's about happiness. So let's talk about happiness. Yeah, Garina. So talk us about, you said we all want happiness, don't we?
Sure.
Garina, do you want me to share the screen, the presentation?
Yeah, you do that. I just wanted to add a few, just a few words to the writing of the book. I'll take less than maybe 1 minute. So Rahul said that, yeah, he was putting his scientific knowledge, and I was backing up and telling him where you can find these. I just realized when somehow we knew each other for a very long time, and I had kept my knowledge, and because I've been always interested in the spirituality and finding, sense of life and purpose of life for my own self. So, but then I never really told him also. And then after many years, he came to me and he found people who he heard from. Sukriti came and he found the right kind of gurus and what do you call that? Forgot the word, the whoever, gurus. So he got that information and he sort of liked that, and he came home and he was telling me, oh, this is like that. Did you know that? I'm like, yeah, what a big deal. Yeah, I knew that. I read that long time in this Upanishad, that Upanishad, Bhagavad Puran, Bhagavad Gita. And then he was telling me, oh, did you know this is like this? And then eventually he says, then why you didn't tell me? Why you never share? What is wrong with you? And then I realized how selfish I was, that I was keeping my budget to myself only, so. And that's, I was really thinking, oh, really? I mean, we shouldn't be so selfish. It's better actually to share things to others. Yeah. So it's just that kind of a perspective from my perspective. So I sort of felt, yeah, actually that's true. You can't be selfish. And the thing is that Gita gives, I'll get back to happiness here. At one point in our life or the other, whether it's 4 years old or 10 years old or 40 years old or whenever, even if everything is fine and perfect, you still start asking, if things don't go fine and perfect, that's more natural that you start asking questions, why, what, and how to be happy finally. Or some people, we know there are 4 people who come to God and all. So 4 types of people who come to get the true knowledge and all. So everybody asks that question, what's going on, how to be happy, what is the real me, what is my life about, and how can I be happy, why do I suffer? So Gita gives this I find it perfect way of explaining what is happiness, and we put it into the equation. Happiness equals attainment minus desire. So when do we think we are happy? When we attain something. How to keep this equation positive? When we attain something, when we get something what we wanted, when we wish for something, we desire for something, we attain it, what do? We are happy. If we don't get it, then we're not happy, right? So how do we always have to keep it positive? How can we always be happy? By attaining and attaining and attaining and attaining, right? But how is it possible? For example, if we are taking an exam, let's say I want to take an exam. I have to take an exam, and okay, let's say I've studied really hard and I'm aiming at A, but I didn't get it. So I got B. So I'm frustrated, right? So no equation, no happiness. Then let's say I studied so and I was expecting to get B, but I got A. Wow, somehow accidentally from passive memory, my brain just got something and I wrote it properly, and then wow, I got A. I didn't even expect that. Wow, I'm just out of the world happy. So it's just tied to to our desire, and then we want and want and want, and we want to attain and attain and attain. So how to keep happy? We can't fix the attainment, right? Things don't always depend. We can't influence the attainment. Things don't always depend on us. Like for example, it can even happen that somebody fell sick and they couldn't go through the exam, and they failed, and they have to go through another round of studies and all. we can't really, things happen in life. So the only way we can, we can control and keep ourselves happy by looking at the desire, by extracting this desire thing out of this, this whole thing, like by desiring more and more. The only thing which we can control is the desire. How much do I want? So if we fix our desire, then if it's just frustrates us. Okay, I got my desire, I got fixed on this, A, and I can't get out of it. The only thing what we need to do is just to do what we need to do our duty, and just leave it to things to happen, yeah.
And Galina, one more thing, because of your background, I would just say to you, for example, if you look at just this concept itself, that, putting this seed of this shloka within children, for example, when they are at very, very young age, if you put this seed in them when they are young and sort of explain to them in their terms that what actually it means if they internalize this principle, I mean, how wonderful will that be? I mean, one more thing I was saying to Rahul, I think yesterday or the day before, that something like this, when you are actually growing up, a book like this, it's like a tool set for your life. It's a precursor to your tool set, and it takes you to other places. So I was just going to say, I mean, I was watching one of your videos, and I was just saying that you said about kids, how do you impart this knowledge within, with the children, and you understand this better than I do. But one thing an idea did come to my mind. I said, if you take up the concepts and design, for example, games or interactive sessions, rather than teaching them these, and how you feel, once that game is over or the scenario is over, and take the response. I think we can use this to actually, implement this within, when the children are very, very young. But yeah, so I thought I'll just make a comment, because I thought I wanted to, because of your background. I think it's very, very important we get this from very, very beginning. It becomes part. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but at least at home.
So Deepak Prabhu, there is a devotee here in Singapore. His name is Aristotle. Galina, you remember? So Aristotle basically creates games which teach the Bhagavad Gita concepts. So exactly on the lines of what you are saying, he teaches those concepts to kids through games.
Yeah.
Games, scenarios, interactive. Yeah, absolutely. So right. So just basically, so that we know now, your background and the purpose, and obviously happiness. So we were talking about that, Rahul. So go on.
Just to add a few words, we can see that it is a little bit changing, even in Singapore, which is so, result-driven society. Like, people need to attain, and it's generally, like, in Asia, it's a very common thing, because attainment is at the moment, it has not always been like that, because Asia is an exporter of the biggest knowledge, actually. But in the recent years, it has changed, because probably Asia is trying to catch up with the West. So Singapore is a very highly competitive society, in a way that attainment is very important. However, I can see that in schools and among the parents, it's also changing. And even I do that, I also say that to my own kid. Parents and teachers also say, do your best. It's okay. Don't worry about whether you're number 1 or number 2 or whatever it is. Do your best. Try your best. If you have tried, whatever you could, and put your maximum effort. Even my little one goes to karate, and then why I like it, because they say make your best effort, be sincere, and then put your best effort in whatever you do, So I think it's very important to make kids understand that put your effort and just leave it, and it will be okay. You don't have to worry whether you will be number 1 or whatever, Yeah, so I see the changes in pedagogy also a little bit slowly.
Yes. Yes, there's a lot of.
I'll just add something here as well. Now, this equation on the surface looks quite innocent, but there is a hidden message here as well. Now, let's look at the desire side of the equation. Now, on the desire side of equation, any student who has ever cheated in the exam, any business professional who has ever fudged numbers, any salesperson who has ever bribed, that is all because of this desire. Their desire to be the number one student, their desire to be the best performing salesperson, their desire to be the number one company got so strong that they wanted to attain this no matter what, by hook or by crook. So this equation is also the ethics equation, which tells you, unless you control your desires will control you. So it's not just the happiness equation, it's also the ethics equation. Just wanted to bring that subtle point.
Of course.
Yeah.
Done the right way.
Do it the right way. So hidden in that is what Galina was saying, that look, in life we know, and we know this from the shloka which is quoted below, you are not the only factor that goes into making sure the outcome is whatever the outcome is. There are many other factors that go into. Your effort is just one of the things, but then there are so many other variables that you can't control. Now, if you're so bogged down on the result, then you will not enjoy the process. And if you don't enjoy the process, what's the meaning of the result? If you don't enjoy studying, if you don't enjoy learning, what is the meaning of that A grade, B grade, C grade? It's meaningless. At least that is what I can say.
Right. Yes. Yep. I mean, just, one more thing, with the children, now we used to have gurukulas, before, and the system was very systematically destroyed. And this kind of information was, given at the time. But obviously now I think, again, with this, like what you've done here with this book, hopefully, parents can read this and impart the knowledge to children, which they can relate to, they can understand. Now they're growing up in a very scientific based society. So I was just going to say that. So people can buy this and just keep it as a handbook and as a reference book, as a reference point, just talking to the children. Right. Sorry, we're going to the next slide. How are we doing with the time, by the way, Rahul?
I think Deepak, we are doing fine. We will go to a slide if it's topical in the discussion. Why don't we open the floor to audience? Maybe they have some questions at this point in time.
Yes, if anyone's got a question for Rahul and Galina, please come forward. We would welcome. We like the participation. Come on, don't be shy.
So if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question, or you can type in the chat, whichever way it works for you.
Interesting thing is, Rahul, you wrote a book before this called Ikagai, so you looks like you found your Ikagai.
Yes, in fact, just today I mentioned in some of the groups, in my batch groups, in my alumni groups, that I am quitting my job at the bank, and I'm going to be focusing on writing full time. And everybody below that commented, "Seems like you found your ikigai." And I think yes, because I think I was chasing, and I would also say I was attaining. So I did the right thing. I studied hard. I got the top grades. I got into one of the best universities in the world. Got a full scholarship, went to IIM, did MBA, got the highest paid job that was out there from IIM. And after all that, I was still like, so what? Like, there comes a point when you ask, so what? I mean, you got the best scholarship, you got the best job, but who cares, right? Ultimately, the question that you need to ask, am I happy? And if the answer is, that's the question. And if the answer is no, then obviously you want to change something. And the thing is that if you know you want to change something, what are you waiting for? Because you see, the irony of life is that your lifeline is also your deadline. And you don't know when that deadline suddenly hits.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you don't know when that deadline is going to suddenly hit, what are you waiting for? If you're not happy with what you're doing right now, just change now, because the only thing you have a control over is now. That's it.
Yep. One more thing I wanted to ask you in terms of your book. I mean, I know it's being launched on Amazon, and people, guys, you can buy it on Amazon. It's available in Kindle, and it's very reasonable price. I was so surprised, actually. It's very, the amount of information, and as I said to you, the research being done, and we look at the price, it's so reasonably priced, really, really good. So I'm just going to ask you, I mean, obviously, the book was on Amazon. When was it? Sorry, released? What was the
So
date?
it was released on Gita Jayanti, 14th of December. So it's just been 1 month, exactly
Just
a
been 1
month.
month. And how are you finding the response?
We haven't checked with our publishers, so we have to go back and check how the response is.
Yeah.
But in terms of creating so-called buzz about the book, that has been quite positive. We have been getting a lot of reverse inquiries. Like I just mentioned to you yesterday, we did a session with Bharat Mauritius. Then we are doing another session with there is an Institute of Vaishnavism in the US. We are doing at some point in time, we are doing with them. So in terms of people wanting it's like word of mouth. People are hearing, and then other people are contacting us. Even I am Bangalore. We taught a course yesterday. Now some more things are coming out of it. So I would say we don't know what the numbers are, but in terms of people reaching out to us and also we reaching out to people, that has been quite encouraging.
Oh, wonderful. I was just saying that, I just wanted to know what if any atheist contacted you and said, I read your book, and this was my feedback, and that would be interesting.
It's interesting because some people I've never spoken to. They're friends, but then not every friend you keep in touch with. Suddenly some people are sending me pictures of my books and saying, oh, I saw your book in Bangalore airport, or I saw your book in so and so library. And it's kind of heartening, that when people send these kind of pictures to you as an author, it's delightful.
And actually, while we're waiting for the question, another question was how, obviously, when someone writes a book, there's a context, there's a purpose, but also it changes the person who writes the book, right? So both of you, this question is obviously both of you. I'll go to Galina first, actually. Galina, how has this book actually changed you? What was your experience and journey like this on this when you were writing this book?
I guess
I meant once the book was finished, what the experience, the whole journey.
It to me it was, as I said in the beginning, it helped me to to deepen my quest for knowledge even deeper, and to reconnect with because I've always had, I've always tried to be a devotee all my life, but at some point in time we get more busy, we get children, we get bogged into the things, and we just forget to to step and think and see. But after we finished working on the book, I actually reread it a couple of times. Some of the chapters I it was useful, and then some of the chapters I reread, and some of the information I went and dug deeper, like for example things about on Panchkosha, because that is directly related to health issues and how we can keep the body and soul together healthy, so that we can how do I say, so that we can be healthy for our bhajan, so that we can be healthy for even disseminating and telling this knowledge to others. And also what was interesting is, I don't know, somehow after as I was reading, to me, it's my personal impression, I actually felt that we always I don't know how, our audience, what is that? Each of us has got our own relationships with Krishna and Gurudev and all, how they're connected. But I actually thought it just gave me the realization that truly we just need to remember Krishna, and he will take care of the rest of the things. We just need to want to remember. Again, it's like attainment. We just have to do our best to want to remember Krishna, and he'll take care of the rest of the things. Really,
right.
This realization came personally to me somehow, and that was very positive experience to me. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Rao, so once you finished the book, what was the transformation?
Yeah, so I have three things to talk about that. And your question is specifically about finishing the book, and that's again going down to what I said. If you don't enjoy the process, the outcome is meaningless. So finishing the book, once the book came out in the print, it absolutely made no difference to me. It was like, okay, the book is out, that's it. But so I'll talk to you about the whole journey and the process, and I'll tell you what I learned from that. And I'll talk about 3 things. Number 1, I told you that this book is something which the journey of writing that was 5-year-long journey. And in that journey, I met a lot of interesting people, a lot of Sattvic people. And one such person is Rajesh Srivastava. He has started a thing called Artha Forum. Now, Artha means meaning, but it also means money. So Artha Forum, it's a fantastic forum. The tagline is modern businesses, ancient wisdom. So in that forum, he used to invite top-notch business people in a room, and somebody on the other side of the podium would be giving lecture from our ancient wisdom and its application on the modern business. So these would be basically Guru Maharaj, who will come and talk about how you can apply the scriptural knowledge into modern businesses and pursue your business in Sattvic way. So I was listening to these people. I mean, I turn left, I turn right, and I know that these are who is who of Singapore. I don't know for what reason they thought that I would benefit from this. I'm very thankful they invited me, because there was no reason that they should have ever gotten me there. But I somehow happened to be there. And then I was like, okay, these people have the money. I don't have money, so I can't do what they are doing. But then I realized I have time, right? And I had the intellectual curiosity. So I thought, okay, I don't have money, but I have time. So can I use my time in such a way that I can package whatever I'm learning from here and maybe disseminate in some way? So I started writing on LinkedIn. So that was a long journey. The book you're seeing is a long journey of series of things that I've written much before the book came into that shape. So what I want to say is that you always have something to give. If you don't have money, you have time. If you don't have time, you have money. If you have neither, then at least give compassion, at least empathize. So you always have something to give. That was number 1 lesson when I was writing the book. Number 2, majority of what is in the book, I picked up from a banker in Singapore. He's now in New York, but at that time he was in Singapore. And he taught me this Gita over a course of like informal classroom setting over a course of 2 years, where I used to go to his home every Friday without fail and learn from him. And then suddenly in 2020, he tells me, I'm going to be relocating to New York. And that was like a sudden snap to me, that how can he go? I mean, where? And it was like, oh my goodness, he's leaving. And that's when I realized there are not going to be any more Fridays where I'm going to land up to somebody's home and seek this and get this wisdom. And that in his departure, he taught me a very important Gita lesson, which I had read but not internalized, which is nothing is permanent in this world, not even your guru. Your guru can just be here and tomorrow gone, some other country or even left the planet. That was my second learning. And the third learning, which is very important, which was that we wrote this book, we finished this book around November 2020. That's when we gave, or October 2020, that's when we gave the manuscript to the publisher. Then there were some revisions and all happened. And then we gave the final version of it in December 2020. And then we were told the book will come out in April or around Holi time. And then COVID happened in India. So then we were told, oh, COVID is there. Nobody's buying book. Nobody's traveling. So this book is now delayed. It's going to come in June, July. June, July came and went. And then it was like, oh, still people are not people are recovering. We have a backlog. So your book is now going to come in Diwali. Diwali came and went and the book is still not printed. Then fortunately around the Gita Jayanti, the book came out, and it was, I think it was all planned that it had to be released on Gita Jayanti, and it just came just few days before Gita Jayanti. It was available on Amazon, and it was available for pre-order. So what am I telling with this? You only have control over your actions. You don't have control over your results. We wanted the book as soon as possible, but we had no control over it. It took a whole 1 year for the book to come out. So those are my 3 learnings, or how my life has changed. You asked me after the book. I don't think there was ever an after, but during the book, that is what happened.
And the book is published by Rupa.
Which is it's published by Rupa, which is, as you know, India's #1 publisher. And even there we got lucky. I mean, I would say in India I was a debut author. So debuting with Rupa is like as if in UK context getting into Oxford, or in American context getting into Harvard right away. right?
Yeah.
And even when we were when I published my book in Singapore, again, I don't know how it happened. World Scientific is the most respected name in Singapore, which publishes Nobel laureates and presidents and prime ministers. They showed interest in that Ikigai book. So I don't know how it's happening, but somehow it's happening. I mean, we got Rupa as our publisher. We got everything aligned in a way that it came out the way it is.
I mean, I think, as I said, that you and I was reading, I'm still reading the book, and I would recommend it. I think it's in India, it's available for 299 rupees, right?
295.
295. And I think
and the Kindle version is 250, and Kindle version is 250 globally. That means no matter you're in America, no matter you're in the UK, it's 250 rupees. So the way I put this is that each page is worth 1 rupee. That's about the price of the book.
Yeah, but it's not about, I think the knowledge in there and the hard work and the scholarship and the research has gone in is, it's actually quite unbelievable. So I would say to you, I'm reading the book. So I'm not one of those who've just, I'm talking to Rahul and Galina without actually looking at the book first. And it was really, really fantastic. And I think what I like about it is that the way you have structured it, you picked up the concepts of soul, Kala, God, everything, the way you've explained it and the way you've taken the book, the structure is beautiful. And I think anyone who wants to know, and also, if I may say so here, Rahul, that we are not here to convert anyone. I mean, if you want to remain an atheist, you remain an atheist, no problem. This book is a precursor, and also it'll help you, to in your own life, give you the tool set, to actually lead a happy, fulfilling life. And I mean, this is my understanding. Am I right? Am I right in saying that?
So you're absolutely right. So here is the thing: the entire book, we have not used the word Hinduism anywhere. The entire book starts and finishes. Only one place I have used where there is a graphic, which I had to use Hinduism, but there is no text in the entire book which says Hinduism. There is nothing in the book. The entire book starts and finishes, and there is no emphasis on so-called atheism or one way or the other, right? So what I want to say is that if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, obviously our work is a derivative of the Bhagavad Gita. If you look at the Bhagavad Gita, and even if you take the divinity out of it, even if you take the religious aspect out of it, and you analyze it as a book of philosophy or as a book which has something of value to add, and then you ask the question, does this book have any value? I'm talking about the original Bhagavad Gita. And the answer turns out to be a lot, and a lot. And what I have done is an experiment in bringing that a lot to the millennials in a format that they can digest. And what I mean by that is, and you were talking about some of the concepts that are there in the book. So what I have done in the book, or along with Galina, is that we have tried to explain how Bhagavad Gita is an instruction manual for the universe and for your own life, which explains how a jiva is embodied soul, interacts with Prakriti, which is the material nature around you, in Kala, which is time, governed by the laws of karma, which are designed by the Ishvara. So that's all we are trying to explain in the book, how a jiva interacts with Prakriti in Kala, governed by the laws of karma, which are designed by the Ishvara. So that's the takeaway of the book.
Yes, and actually, I'm just waiting. If anybody wants to ask a question, guys, come on, because we're nearly ending. I think we reached an hour, Rahul. I think that should be a session. I think 1 hour is okay, or I mean, there's no questions at the moment. Looks like
I would be happy to. We would be happy. So if there are no questions, either everything was all clear or nothing went into.
Or they're all sleeping. So if anyone has, otherwise, I would just say that again, Galina, looks like. Let me see. Is there any questions there? Can you see anything there? I'm sorry. I'm just looking.
No, there are. The chat is absolutely clean.
I think
Devendra is trying to ask some question. Devendra, do you want to ask a question?
No, Rahul, I was just trying to kind of respond by saying that it's not zero. Definitely it's not 100, but it was not zero either. Very interesting session, and I kind of like these sessions. Have attended a few of them, and way to go. I have not yet read my copy of the book, but nonetheless, I mean, very interesting discussions that we had here. And thanks a lot for having this discussion.
Thank you so much, Devin. Thank you so much for joining.
I mean, Rahul, each chapter of your book actually can be Galina, that both of you, I mean, this is obviously both, each chapter of the book can be a topic in itself. You know, you can make like, you know, a lecture in itself, isn't it? It'd be very, very interesting.
The story is reversed. Each topic of the book was actually a lecture. So we taught this course, Bhagavad Gita, in 10 sessions.
Yes,
and
yes.
That's when somebody told us, why don't you package it as a book? So,
Yes.
so it is.
Oh,
It
okay.
was actually a lecture which became a book.
Wonderful, wonderful. Galina, you wanted to say something?
Well, pretty much I've already said what I really wanted to share. So I'm really grateful to the people who came to join us to listen. And I hope that if anybody wants to read it, I hope it's going to be helpful and useful. I mean, working on these concepts and rereading them and packaging them in a form of the kind of like a book, so that others can read it. It was a very enlightening and life-changing experience to me. So I just hope that other people will also benefit from it as much as I did.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes without saying that Bhagavad Gita obviously has impacted me personally as well. So no matter what your background, I would always say that, you know, read it at least once in your life. Just read it, you know, without any judgments. Keep your judgments on one side and just read it as a book. That's it. You know, so yeah, I mean, can you tell your social media, please? What's your Facebook page, or, you know, if you don't mind, Rahul?
Yeah, please.
Okay, we have just started getting active on social media. So if you type Rahul Singh, you will be able to find me on LinkedIn, which is where I'm most active. That's where my writing journey began. And we have a page which is called Gyanology. I'll just type in the chat so that everybody can see. So Gyanology is basically a platform where we come and discuss about wisdom, and it's not just scriptural wisdom, but wisdom in general. So you can look at Gyanology, or if you want to find me on Facebook, then I go by author Rahul Singh. So those are the ways to find me. And I also write under Wisdom Activator, which I'm just going to write in the chat. Galina, you can give your handles if you want.
Yeah, just put this is my Facebook. Yeah. Just this way.
Okay, guys. So wonderful. Actually, I was looking forward to this, and I was a bit nervous because I've never done this before. So it was very interesting and very exciting, and I'm very happy for you both. And I would say one thing, you know, Rahul, that the beauty of our tradition is that it has capacity to adapt and capacity to bring the ideas, the old ideas into the new. And I think my thoughts about your book is that you've done a very, very wonderful job. And I think it'll really, really appeal to youngsters, you know, and you've sort of, they can easily relate to, you know, a lot of things you've said. And I really applaud you for that. And I think we need people like you who can, write books like that. So thank you very much. And I really, really appreciate it that you've done it. We need something like this in our country at the moment, in India especially. And it's probably, I feel sometimes that it's probably, you know, we are living in the age of the beginning of Hindu Renaissance. So that's the way I feel anyway. So, but thank you very much, Galina. It was wonderful. And I'm sure we'll be in touch. And I really, really thank you for the time and the opportunity. And guys, if you haven't bought the book, I strongly recommend go and buy the book. It's worth every penny. Thank you very much. So last words from you guys.
I just wanted to thank you also. Thank you so much for agreeing for us to, you know, to just discuss the work we've done. Thank you.
Yeah, so I would say, Deepak, that this has been by far the most I would say candid session we have had so far on the whole process of writing the book, how it came about, and the process. So thank you so much for being such an excellent moderator. It has been a very informal session, although there were no questions. But I guess you asked on the behalf of the audience. So thank you so much for getting those ideas out of us and having the audience benefit from it.
It's
Sorry.
a very warm. It's a very warm session. Thank you. Yeah. Just
No, no, I enjoyed it as well. And what I'll do is, if you send me the link later on, I'll share it on my YouTube channel and I'll forward you the link so people can watch it. And I'll be sharing this obviously to my friends and, you know, on my channel as well, on my Facebook page as well. So they can watch it if they want to watch it again or want to forward this, share with their friends. So that'll be wonderful. Okay.
Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for taking the time out and joining us today. You know, it's wonderful, and you know, hope to see you soon. And I wish you all the best. And thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol.